Hey guys, Brian Stevens here with Mortgage Shots and the National Real Estate Post coming to you, well, on a Monday and really a Tuesday. So I hope everything's working out for everybody. I hope everybody saw that incredible meteor shower we had just yesterday on my technical anniversary, which was really cool. But I want to jump into today because we got a ton of stuff to cover. And once again, like yesterday, I think we have a bunch of real positive news that's going to help mortgage lenders and real estate agents. We're going to be looking not only at rents, but rents relative to what's taking place with the housing market in terms of purchases. We're going to look at the likes of BlackRock and what people perceive to be their biggest problems. Because what I always talk about is as a mortgage lender or a real estate agent, we need to what? Read the tea leaves of the direction the market is going to go. And that's what we do here on Mortgage Shots in the National Real Estate Post. So, hey, listen, if you're meeting us for the first time, just make sure you subscribe. All you have to do is go to mortgageshots.com and hit the subscribe button. And, of course, like and leave me comments because any comments you leave, they're all read and they're all wildly, wildly appreciated. So let's jump into today's show and what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, once again, all you have to do is subscribe here. This is our site at mortgageshots.com or the National Real Estate Post. And remember to leave me some questions. Okay, so the motto for today is going to be failing up. Now, I talk with loan officers all across the country with our group we call Mortgage Shot, or excuse me, my group that we call Pods. And in our Pods group, which is a crowdsourcing group of mortgage loan officers and real estate agents, we get people from all over the country, we get together, and we talk about the best ideas, what's working and what's not. And then, of course, we try to adopt what works and we discard what doesn't work. But one of the common themes that I've always found from 20 years of traveling the country, talking with realtors and lenders, is fear of actually trying something, fear of picking up your phone, fear of trying a new technology, fear of doing a video. God, we don't look like that. We don't sound like that. Oh, yes, we do. We look and sound exactly like we see ourselves on video. So what I always encourage people when they have a marketing idea is just try it. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. It matters if you do it. See, the fear of failure is stopping us from being the loan officers and realtors that we could actually be. So I want you to think of the term failing up. And the idea is that, listen, failure is okay. Failure is mandatory for us to find the road that we need to be on. And so many lenders and realtors don't do that. And that's why we have like an 80% attrition rate of people who get into the business. We go through all the crap we have to do to get here, and then we fail out in a matter of years. So let's jump right into this whole idea of what's going on today. And I want to explain to you what I think about this. So apartment rent growth, if you're looking over on the right-hand side, Austin, Texas, the hottest market in the country. Right now, if you want to go there and get rent, your rent is $13.26. It's dropped by a full $300 here in just a few years. That's a massive numbers. That's groceries. This is an inflation buster when it comes to rents. Fort Myers, Florida, down 15%. Colorado Springs, Santa Maria, California. But do you notice the theme here? Texas, Florida, Colorado, California, Florida, Arizona, Florida. And we got a couple of outliers there. But what we are seeing here is a lot of the states that saw the biggest boom are seeing the biggest busts right now. Here's another example of the biggest peaks and changes that we've seen statistically when it comes to rents. Again, Florida, Texas, Florida, 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 Louisiana, Florida, Texas, Florida, Florida, Texas, Florida. Again, we're starting to see a theme here. The states that do great and go up fast, they go down just equally as fast. But what this is really, I like to say, a canary in the coal mine for what the rest of the market is going to do. You're going to start to see rents drop all across the country. This thematically is just beginning, but understand this, and mind you, this has begun, the fundamental change. Now, yesterday I told you how Lennar has dropped 23 of their 25% gains since 2022. Boy, that's a mouthful. Since 2022, they've lost all their gains. They have dropped prices on new homes by nearly the 25% gains that they had over the previous 3 years. The numbers are remarkable, and we're going to see the previously owned single-family market follow suit, and we're going to start to see prices drop. And again, I told you, we're going to see a 20 to 25% drop in home values, and frankly, since this is happening so soon, I think it's going to be bigger. But here's the connection I want to make to you. With rents going down and rents now being way more affordable than buying houses, this is going to put pressure on new home builders and pre-existing homes to drop their values even further to stay competitive with rents. because somebody who's a first-time home buyer is going to say, well, I can rent for X or I can buy for X plus 200 or X plus 600. And a lot of those folks are going to say, screw it, I'm going to rent right now because I don't think we've seen the bottom. That's going to take the new home market and the pre-existing home market for sale, and it's going to make it drop even faster. So in your market, guys, I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to watch what takes place because we know that rates are going to come down. Rates are coming down. But right now, the thing that always had to change, and I've been consistent with this, is values have to come down. And right now it's happening, and it's happening in a real big way. We're going to see a huge change in the housing market where we have more sales and more listings before the end of 2025. So maybe this might be a tight Christmas where you're going to have to buckle up, and your kids don't need all that cheap Chinese made plastic crap anyways. So this might be a tight Christmas for you. You might not get the 25-pound bird. Maybe you get the 22-pound bird. Maybe you just get a chicken. Whatever the case may be. But next year's going to be better. We're going to see a massive transformation. And even if your Christmas is a little tighter at the belt this year, you're going to have enough positivity in your business on the plate that's going to make you understand and assure you that 2026 is going to be fantastic. And a lot of it has to do with what's taking place with rents and sales prices right now. They are both dropping like, as Eric Clapton once said about a certain band that became pretty famous, like a Led Zeppelin. All right, moving on. This is my state of California. Tech jobs are leaving California. What I thought was pretty funny about this article is they said it's leaving California because of artificial intelligence, which I find kind of strange because artificial intelligence is now being discarded or scuttled by a lot of the bigger corporations who simply aren't finding a value in it. They're finding a value in actual intelligence, not artificial intelligence. But what I find funny about this is assuming people are leaving California because of artificial intelligence or whatever reason you want to give. They're not going to Austin because we just saw the Austin market. It's screwed. They're not going to North Carolina. We saw that market. It's kind of screwed right now. So where is everybody going? And the truth of the matter is they have artificial intelligence in North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, and Seattle. People are leaving California right now, my friends, because it's just too damn expensive. And this is the point that I'm trying to get at with everybody is when we get affordability back, what happens is we're going to see this market change. And what's taking place in California is just one of those examples. Now, this graph is pretty interesting here. It's long-term performance of the stock market versus housing. Frankly, this is the S&P versus the housing market. So we discussed this yesterday, if values go up and they always come down, what goes up comes down. What do we expect to take place over here with the S&P or with the housing market? Frankly, I see this graph as a lot of people who've seen significant gains in their indexes that they've invested in. They're going to start to see the value of the housing market. Money's going to come out of the S&P. It's going to come out of the Dow Jones, and it's going to go into the housing market. So the S&P is going to come much more in line like it was in 2010. And again, this just spells another wonderful opportunity for housing. When property values go down, what's going to happen is people are going to say, okay, I am moving my money because I don't think the stock market is going to continue on this trajectory, and it's going to bring more people to the table. In fact, what I would do if I were you is I would talk with your past client database, what I like to refer to as your best opportunity, and say, hey, listen, how strong do you feel about the housing market? How strong do you feel about the stock market? Let me ask you that. How do you feel about the housing market? How do you feel about the stock market? Right now, I think the stock market is facing a major correction right now. And again, where is that money going to land? I think it's going to land in the housing market. So be proactive about this with your best opportunity, your past client database, and give these guys a ring. My goodness. I mean, what else are you going to do today? There's no sports on to distract you. I don't think. Maybe there is. Okay. Now this right here, oh God, everybody just put this in there because I thought it was funny. Do you remember, this is how hysterical people get, okay? Like the housing market, it is always the sky is falling. It's henny penny. It's going to be horrible. Now the housing market isn't going anywhere because last time I checked, nobody wants to live underneath the freeway overpass. People like to live indoors. But the egg hysteria is really what the housing hysteria was like. Remember all the news station covered this for like weeks. I can't believe how expensive eggs are. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is preposterous. They're $6. Your house is hundreds of thousands of dollars in gains or losses. The stock market is. But we created a hysteria over eggs. So for those of you who are freaking out about all this stuff, I just want to let you know that eggs have actually dropped down to a level that is lower than what you had previously expected. But nobody's talking about that, are they? Here's a little side note. When we see the correction in the housing market, the egg hysteria is going to come back raging. And all I'm asking you is don't buy into the hype. We need a correction. A correction is a good thing for the overall health of the housing market. Did you know in 1960, if you were 30 years old and married, you owned a house at a 52% rate? Did you know today in 2025, that's 12%? We went from over half to 12% ownership. That's horrifying. 30% of married couples own a house, whereas in 1960 it was 52%. So when we see a correction in this market, don't buy into the egg hype. And by the way, go get some eggs, make some egg salad sandwich. When you make your egg salad sandwich, make sure you put a little garlic powder and a little white pepper in it. White pepper, garlic powder, splash of Tabasco, maybe a little bit of Dijon mustard, just a tad, not too much, and eat it while the eggs are hot. It is wonderful. Okay, year-over change in earnings. I find this one very peculiar. Look at how much people made during the COVID meltdown. Look at how much earnings went up. Isn't that nuts? That was during the Great American Giveaway, when everybody got a check for no good reason. All that big bump that you see there, that are all the 30% extra dollars that are right now circulating in economies all across the world that are devaluing the dollar and making everything and inflation more expensive. Side note, get some of those dollars off the street. The point here is we've seen an obvious correction since the Great American Giveaway, but highest earners have fared the best. That's not terribly shocking now, is it? Lower middle class, the second best. Upper middle class, the third. And the lowest earners, as is always the case in every market, get screwed the most. Now, just being pragmatic about this, I mean, listen, of course we want to help the lowest earners, and perhaps with property values going down, we're going to be able to do that in the near future. But still, in the market that we're in, I'm in, and you're probably in, you really kind of want to focus your direction on people who earn money, higher earners. Now, you can go ahead and buy those lists if you choose to, or you can just hang out at country clubs and airplane hangars. Go to car shows. By the way, car shows are an absolutely fantastic place to go. If somebody's got $100,000 to dump into a 1967 Chevelle, yeah, they've got money to put down on a house. So again, just you might want to start to circulate in areas where people are going to be able to purchase what you sell, and that's money and homes. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, what Americans believe are the biggest cause of the housing costs in the United States right now. The number one is investors are buying up housing to turn a profit. Okay, 48%, nearly half of people believe that's the biggest problem that's hurting the housing market. I would say that's misguided, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to explain to you what we do about it. The materials used to build homes are too expensive. We hear this about framing wood. We hear this about shingles, weather stripping, dual pane, just everything. We hear this siding, sheetrock, flooring. We hear this about everything. And the truth of the matter is most of those come from Canada, and most of those have been omitted from the tariffs. And the tariffs, they're not having as much of a negative effect as you think they are. I don't know if I added that slide in here, but there was a study that was just done from Harvard. And basically, outside of our massive inflation bubble we had over the past 4 years, prices are pretty similar to what they were before. The biggest difference is domestic manufacturing has actually gone up, but I digress on that. The point here is this: most of that stuff comes from Canada. It's not hit by the tariffs, and the costs have come down. We heard this, and this was kind of an egg hysteria type of thing, wasn't it, with building materials? The truth of the matter is, they're not that expensive right now. Landlords are raising rents faster than necessary. Not true. They're actually dropping rents right now all across the country. Number 4, elected officials do not prioritize policies to make housing more affordable. They've been doing this for the past 50 years. Quite frankly, none of it's worked. Absolutely none of it's worked. Everything that we've done to help underserved communities has failed miserably. And we've spoke about this before. The home ownership rate amongst African Americans right now is lower than what it was during Jim Crow laws, when you could put in a deed of trust that you were not allowed to sell or rent your house to an African or a black person at the time. You could still go online right now and go find those deeds of trust. They still exist in the paperwork. It is a scar on us. I absolutely believe that. But isn't it a bigger scar that we have lower home ownership rates today than we did during the Jim Crow law era? I think that's crazy. So our elected officials, they're trying something. They're spending trillions, not billions, but trillions of dollars through the GSEs and HUD, and none of it's working. Too many immigrants moving into the United States. Don't even want to touch that one. The workers hired to build homes are too expensive. Maybe that's a little bit of, that's not a little bit. That's not going to change. Getting good skilled labor is difficult. And frankly, some of those immigrants, that people are, the 17% are complaining about the immigrants coming into the United States, I got news for you. They're the ones building the homes. And if you want to drive the price of homes down, listen, anybody who's swung a hammer, knocked tin, or done anything on a house knows that most of our skilled labor is coming from south of the border right now. People are converting their homes into Airbnbs instead of renting them. Airbnbs, that ship has sailed right now. People moving within the United States to where housing is expensive. Okay, 10%. It takes too long to build a house. No, it doesn't. And they're not sure. You know what's not on here, what I find very peculiar? Nobody's talking about what the real culprit is. That we have a market that's set on 2%, and now we're selling 7% rates. Money has gotten significantly more expensive, and people can't afford to buy a house that's based on a market with the 2s when we are in the 6s and the 7s. That we don't have enough inventory right now, that we still have a 5 to 7 year low. We still have to remember, we have 12% home ownership rate amongst married 30-year-olds today. It's 52% in 1960. Something fundamentally is wrong with the system outside of the costs and the people and investors. People aren't investing in the United States out. Frankly, they're running away from the United States housing market. So in short, I think our average Americans don't really understand what's taking place in housing. Now, of course, we look at this all day long, but it's up to you to inform the buying and selling populace of your neighborhoods in order to get those listings, in order to get those buyers, and really kind of help the circulation, the lifeblood of not only the housing market, but your community. Okay, but anyways, I want you to think about this. So I was thinking about investors here. The national average across the country, roughly 20% of the 86 million single-family homes are owned by investors. Is that number higher or lower than what you thought? It's right around where I thought. Maybe I would have thought it a little higher. All right, the next one, mom and pop investors. The vast majority of investor-owned residential properties, over 90%, are held by small investors with fewer than 10 homes. That's a big deal. That is a mom and pop investor. 90%. So when we look at the institutionalized investors, and trust me, I don't like these guys as much as you don't like these guys, but they don't represent a huge part or a swath of the housing market. Large institutional investors, 2%. Geographical variations. The share of investor-owned homes vary significantly by location. That is true. For example, some states with smaller populations and tourism economies like Hawaii, 40%, Alaska, 35%, and Vermont, 31% have higher percentage of investor-owned homes. Meanwhile, large populous states like California and Texas have lower. That does kind of make sense now, doesn't it? But again, it still represents a small number. Investor activity in the housing market. Rising market share. In the first half of 2025, investors' share of total home purchases reached a 5-year high, hitting 27%. In the first quarter and 33% in the second quarter. Still a pretty small number. Second one, weakened markets explains a share increase. Of course it does. You know who sees this market as being a good one? Investors see this market as being a good one. They do. They see an opportunity with falling prices, with lower interest rates, and the fact that you can get these things called concessions. And when the mom and pop investors, or your clients who could and should be investors, if you only were to tell them that they could be investors, when they're running away from the market, or we're not doing our job by educating the people around us, by failing up, right? Yeah, that means that you're going to see a larger portion of institutional investors. Frankly, the percentage has increased, but the number of homes that have been purchased has not increased. The increase in percentage is based on the fact that the mom and pop investors and the clients that we could influence to buy homes have just simply walked away from the market. Focus on lower price homes. Many investors have concentrated on purchasing lower cost properties with an average price of around $455,000 compared to a national average of $512,000. Okay, so as prices drop, we're going to see that number go down. And don't be afraid of smaller loan amounts. We want loan amounts because, again, I talked about this a couple days ago. Some people just need a win right now, even if you're closing on a HELOC. A HELOC is just a marketing opportunity that pays you. Think about that one for a second. A HELOC is a marketing opportunity that pays you. Why is that? Leave me your answer in the comments down below. Okay, we all hate BlackRock. They're the big institutional investors that are buying up all the homes, making things too expensive. Their portfolio is doing pretty good right now. It's at $13.464 trillion. Yes, they own everything. They own everything. I want you to look around where you're at right now, in your kitchen, in your office, and I'll bet you 75% of the stuff that is on you or that you're using or that you're looking at is wholly or partially owned by the likes of BlackRock or BlackRock companies. Think about that one for a second. It's just not homes. Isn't that crazy? We focus, it's egg hysteria. We focus on the wrong thing. This is a really interesting one. Doesn't have anything to do with housing, but look at this. Oh my goodness. Why is gold doing so good right now? And by the way, gold is also, people investing in gold right now is also going to be hurting the stock market. People are going to be looking to move their money in other areas, including housing. Gold has gone through the roof right now because China is buying all of it. Absolutely all of it right now. What do you make of this? Honestly, I don't have a take. This is really one that I'm looking for you guys to give me an answer, because this one, I think there's a lot of meat on the bone. It's just out of my purview at this moment. Look at how much gold has been purchased by the Chinese literally in 2025. Absolutely through the roof. Why is that? I don't know. Remember, my friends, unsuccessful people, they wear their failures. Successful people, they build on their failures. So just get yourself up, dust your knees off, fix your hair, do your shit, and pick up your phone and call some people, and do not be afraid to try something you haven't tried before. Fail up, my friends. Fail up. I hope this helps.